Hey guys, how you doing today? It's Riley of the Big Thing in Aussie, and today bringing you a NBA free agency video. We're talking about the top 10 moves that just occurred in this crazy sort of few days of free agency. And yeah, so it's going to be a really interesting video, and we're just going to be talking about the impact of all these decisions that these players have made for millions and millions of dollars, and we're just going to get straight into it. So if you've been wondering where I've been, I've just had my uni exams and now I'm on break, so I'm going to smash out some videos to come. But anyway, let's get into the first move of the day, and it's a move that hasn't even happened yet, and that is Kawhi Leonard. The guy is a question mark right now. Pretty much for the Lakers, it's Kawhi or bust. It looks like there's three top teams that look to acquire Kawhi Leonard, and they are the LA Lakers, the Toronto Raptors, and the LA Clippers. Let's start off with the Clippers. It's unlikely that he'll be signing with the Clippers because he's already said that his preference would be with the Lakers if he does choose to return home. However, obviously the Raptors just won the NBA championship. What a run it was. But yeah, there's a huge possibility that he goes back to the Raptors for obvious reasons. But I guess the cons of that would be, you got aging players like Kyle Lowry, Marcus Gasol, Serge Ibaka, all getting a bit old, and the ceiling for that team is only really as high as your Pascal Siakam or Fred VanVleet can climb. And lastly, the Lakers, who are the front runner apparently for the Kawhi Leonard signing. So they've obviously just opened a max spot, and it's taken a few days, and you can only assume that they've been meeting and negotiating with Kawhi. However, it's sort of, the longer this drags on, the more unlikely it looks that it's going to happen. The Lakers just actually signed Jared Dudley, of all people. So, that's going to cut into their cap space, and I don't know what they're thinking signing Jared Dudley, but maybe that's an indication that Kawhi is never going to happen. So he might go back to the Raptors. But anyway, free agent number 2, that's going to be the Nets acquisitions of, firstly, Kyrie Irving, then Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. Now that is a mouthful for one free agency. So KD and Kyrie both took under the max contract to allow for DeAndre Jordan to get a $10 million contract, and basically the Nets are pretty set. For one whole year, they're expecting KD to be out, which is fine. You got Kyrie to come in, and you got pieces around him still. You got your Joe Harris, Jared Allen, you got DeAndre Jordan, and yeah, several other pieces. Your Kuruks and young players that are going to help the Nets. But at the end of the day, is it a big improvement from your D'Lo-led team last season? Not really, not without KD, but when KD's back, I'm sure that the Nets will be looking pretty good. So what a move that was. Number 3 is going to be the Warriors. Obviously shocking everybody with the D'Angelo Russell signing. That really came out of nowhere. So it kind of makes sense because obviously Clay has just had surgery. He's expected to return, but after a few months, of course. In the meantime, they can have D'Angelo Russell running the 2 guard, helping Steph, and obviously, maintaining their position of being a contender and staying in there. Because if they can just get to the playoffs, even as a 6 seed or whatever, then Klay Thompson can come back and carry them, and they could really do some damage in the postseason next year. Also, I will mention with the Warriors, they did also sign Willie Cauley-Stein, which is just crazy. Another great player, and considering they had no cap, yeah, what a signing. So what an offseason for the Warriors. Next, we got the Celtics. So obviously they have now replaced Kyrie Irving with Kemba Walker, which was a shock to a lot of people. It's sort of very similar players, and maybe Kemba can be more effective for the Celtics. However, they did lose Al Horford, which is massive, and the impact of that is not really having a proper center. Now they did acquire Enes Kanter for a very cheap deal, so that's not bad, but he's not going to be able to replace what kind of production that Horford was doing. The next one we're going to be talking about will be the Jimmy Butler sign and trade to the Heat. So essentially Jimmy re-signed with the 76ers and then got traded to the Heat for Josh Richardson. So for the Heat, that means obviously they get Jimmy Butler for not giving up a whole lot, and at the same time, you still have a few pieces around him, not enough in my opinion. Like they got rid of Whiteside, which I'll talk about later, and obviously Josh Richardson. So yeah, I mean, look, Jimmy gets to lead his own team now, and good luck to him. But at the same time, I don't think the Heat are going to be at the top of the Eastern Conference next season. The next signing we're going to be talking about is Al Horford to the 76ers. Now, who really expected that? What a shocking sort of revelation. Al Horford is obviously a great defender, multiple-time All-Star, but he got signed for like $32 million a year, and he's already 30 plus. Now, by the time he's like 36, 37, he's still going to be on a massive salary, and that could come back to bite the 76ers. However, that being said, the 76ers re-signed Ben Simmons. They got Josh Richardson, so they're going to have a very defensive, tall ball team. And I think if they can develop Al Horford and Josh Richardson into the offense effectively, this team is going to go leaps and bounds. They still got Tobias Harris. They re-signed him. So you got a hell of a starting five, but you need a few more bench pieces. Anyway, next topic we're going to be talking about is the Portland Trailblazers, and they had a hell of an offseason as well. So they've obviously drafted Nasir Little. That was the first big move, and then they managed to trade for Hassan Whiteside. I think they threw like Myers Leonard and Alfred Camino or something for Hassan Whiteside. So that's a great pickup because obviously Nurkic is still out with that horrific injury that he suffered. And then they also re-signed Rodney Hood. They got who else did they get? Mario Hezonja and Kent Bazemore as well. So yeah, hell of a free agency for the Portland Trailblazers, and they should look to be potentially a top 4 seed again next season. I think they've only gotten better, but we'll wait and see. The next team we're going to be talking about is the Knicks. Now the Knicks took a major L. Obviously, they traded Kristaps Porzingis earlier in the season, and they traded him, to open up max slots for free agency. Now they struck out completely on all the top free agents. Obviously, they wanted KD, Kyrie, Jimmy, whoever they could get, but all they managed to sign was Julius Randle, which is not the end of the world. I think Randle's a great player, but you really have no one to put around him, and obviously players play very well in their contract year, but after that, they might take a back seat. So hopefully Randle continues to, produce for the Knicks. But they also got Bobby Portis, which was a bit of an interesting one because he's very similar to Julius Randle. But it is what it is, and they didn't manage to draft Zion, but they got RJ Barrett, so not a bad consolation. Next, we're going to be talking about the Jazz. So obviously, prior to free agency, they made a big trade for Mike Conley. I think they only got rid of Jay Crowder and one other piece that I can't remember off the top of my head. But the Jazz, they got Mike Conley. They signed Bojan Bogdanovic for a good deal, and he's a great shooter, and he can kind of help with Joe Ingles to knock down more threes. Obviously, the Jazz were running this sort of like Thaddeus Young sort of power forward, which wasn't really capable of stretching on the floor next to Rudy Gobert, so that might help with a few more 3-and-D players like Bojan. And they also got Ed Davis, so that's going to kind of give a spark off the bench for the Jazz. So they're going to look to potentially contend next year. That's the impact of their sort of moves. Now, lastly, the last team is going to be the Lakers. Now, what a ride the Lakers have been on. Obviously, getting LeBron, then making a major trade for Anthony Davis, giving up all their young pieces, and besides Kuzma, and just having only real 3-4 players on their roster right now. It all comes down to Kawhi Leonard and whether he's going to choose the Lakers, because essentially if Kawhi doesn't go back to his home city, the Lakers are going to have not a lot of good free agents left to use their cap space on, and that might create potential issues in the rest of the season. Obviously you got Anthony Davis and LeBron and Kyle Kuzma, but you need a team around them to actually use those players effectively, in my opinion, and to win. So if they can get Kawhi, the team is dirty. I think they're fine. If they can get a Rondo or someone else to play point guard, then they're going to be absolutely fine. But if they don't get Kawhi, could have some issues there. Not a lot of draft picks left. No young players besides Kuzma to trade, and they'll only have like the worst pick of the free agents to consolidate with, like Jared Dudley, of course. So we'll wait and see, guys. Yeah, but that's it for the video. Hope you all enjoyed. Like and sub if you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'm out, guys. See you in the next one.